sponsored a resolution that is going to be discussed and debated and voted on Monday, calling for more responsible military spending. I think it's essential that the community have a discussion on Pentagon spending.
I am deeply saddened by the cuts that our city and our school system have been forced to make in recent years, in large part due to cutbacks in funding from the state of Minnesota, which in turn has lost funding from the federal government. I have seen our nation's military spending increase exponentially and unchallenged over the years, and I think there is great waste and much unnecessary spending on military contractors that does not increase the real security of our nation. We must stop unbridled military spending and reallocate resources to strengthen our citizens and our local community here in Duluth.
As Congress continues to debate budget issues, it is time for them to hear citizen voices. And it's time to hear citizen voices calling for deep cuts to the Pentagon budget. And as citizens of Duluth, we must use all the political strategies at hand to make our voices heard. And federal budget priorities do affect Duluth. In 2011 and 2012, community development block grants to Duluth were cut by 17%, over $450,000. These cuts are just the latest in several years of cuts to local funding for community development block grants. We've seen where those budget cuts have affected citizens. Reductions in police and fire, reduction for parks and recreation, reduction in health care benefits to the working poor, reduction in housing subsidies to families, and the rise of homelessness for families with working parents.
Whenever there's talk about cutting military spending, there are some voices that'll say, we can't do that for the sake of national security. This threat that maybe the United States will suffer security-wise if we make what are even, frankly, what's being proposed on the table are really minor cuts to a budget, a Pentagon budget that's been growing at an average of 10% every year, well past inflation and well past any other federal program. In fact, you can see as the years go by the amount that Congress allots to the Pentagon has been growing dramatically, while all the other programs, from environmental protection to housing, have been squeezed out. So as Mary B. mentioned, now we're nearing 60% of the federal budget being spent on a security state. This is the richest country in the world. That money is going somewhere. And one of the places that the money is going when it's not going to our communities is to a Pentagon budget that is much larger than anything that we need to protect the defense of the United States. So it's the responsibility of us in our community, everybody, to stand up, to have our voices heard. It's also the responsibility of the people that we elected to represent us on a city level to protect the security and the public safety of people in their community. I really hope that on Monday, the Duluth City Council will join the St. Paul and Minneapolis City Councils by sending a strong message to the federal government to cut military spending, to invest in people and not in weapons. Thank you.
Back to your town, this time to my town. Let's bring that money back. Minnesota ASAP. Military spending seems never ending. Let's bring that money back. Minnesota ASAP. As I was driving around is my task. Let's bring that money back. Minnesota ASAP. Military spending seems never ending. Let's bring that money back. Minnesota ASAP.
Hi everybody, it's so great to be in Duluth. I love Duluth. It's my home away from home. And I gotta tell you, I am sick and tired of being number one. We hear that all the time. We're number one, right? The number one nation. Well, we're the number one nation in military spending. Far away number one. Ooh. Nearly half of the world's military spending is us. And as we see from this banner, last year, Congress devoted 59 cents out of every dollar it appropriated to war. We're also number one in arms sales. Last year, the United States accounted for 78% of all the weapons sold in the world. Do you want to be the number one arms maker and seller in the world? No! Do you want to be number one in infant mortality? No! Which we are in the industrial world. Do you want to be number one in terms of home foreclosures related to health emergencies? No! Well, we are. Do you want to be number one in prison population? No! Well, I don't either. And I travel this state and I can tell you, many people in Minnesota don't want to be number one.
We have constantly been struggling with loss of revenue.
City Councilor Charlotte Gardner met with other supporters to tell them Duluth's budget when it comes to community development block grants is shrinking.
It's been a dramatic shift, and the reason for that shift is because of the unfunded wars in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Gardner and others who believe military spending is hurting Duluth's budget put their frustrations into a resolution tonight. It asks Congress to reduce Pentagon spending and send it back to local communities.
We don't need to be living in the framework of austerity. Last year, Congress devoted 59 cents out of every dollar it appropriated to war.
It's real concerning to me. There's a time and a place for everything, and right now, I don't believe is the time.
Councilor Gary Krause said he would vote against the resolution tonight. He says the measure works against the city's efforts to expand the 148th Air Guard base.
By sending a message like this to the federal people, it sends the generals, it sends the Joint Chiefs of Staffs, and it sends the elected representatives the wrong message.
Krause also thinks the measure could hurt local businesses that rely on Department of Defense contracts.
These are important manufacturing jobs that we need to keep our economy healthy and people employed in Duluth.
Still, Duluth is poised to join Minneapolis and St. Paul in passing similar resolutions calling for changes, as lawmakers in Washington decide what to do next.